My aunt posted a meme in the family chat, landscapers equals failure with tools. Family thread erupted. I slipped out quietly. Come spring, her yard flooded, $15K in foundation damage. She called me panicking. I sent her a screenshot. A single meme, posted by my own aunt, felt like a punch to the gut. It threatened to dismantle everything I'd worked for, and I knew, in that instant, things were about to get ugly. You see, my family communicates through a whirlwind of group texts, memes, and the occasional passive-aggressive emoji. Our chat has 47 people, a chaotic mix of parents, siblings, spouses, and even a few friends who've somehow stuck around. It's a madhouse, but it's our madhouse. I'm Olivia, 28 years old, and for the past 6 years, I've owned Green Horizon Designs, my landscaping business. I started it right out of college, when biology jobs were scarce, and I realized I loved being outdoors way more than a lab. What began with me mowing lawns with my dad Michael's old Craftsman has grown into a legitimate company, 8 employees, 3 trucks, and contracts with some of the most beautiful properties in the county. Then there's my Aunt Susan. My mom Diane diplomatically calls her opinionated. Everyone else just calls her insufferable. She's 54, works in pharmaceutical sales, drives a white BMW she always mentions, and has an opinion about everyone's life choices. She married rich, divorced richer, and now lives in a sprawling house in Willow Creek Heights, the kind of neighborhood where the HOA finds you if your garbage cans are visible for more than 2 hours. Susan has 2 kids, Chloe, a lawyer in Chicago who can do no wrong, and Ethan, who's finding himself in Arizona, which everyone knows means living in a van and smoking weed. But Susan tells people he's exploring entrepreneurial opportunities in emerging markets. The double standard is impossible to miss. Susan and I have history. She never particularly liked me. Growing up, she critiqued my weight, my clothes, my grades, my friends, anything she could. Diane would say, "Ignore her, honey, she's just unhappy." But those words stick. When I was 13, maybe 15 years ago, I overheard her tell my grandmother I'd never amount to much because I was too stubborn and not pretty enough to coast by. Yeah, Susan and I go way back. The incident happened on a Tuesday evening in late February. I was actually having a fantastic day. We just landed our biggest contract ever, redesigning the grounds at a new medical complex. To celebrate, I took my crew out for dinner. Driving home, exhausted but happy, my phone started buzzing relentlessly. I waited until I got home. The family chat had exploded. Scrolling up, I found the source, Susan. She posted one of those crudely made memes from 2010, a guy in dirty jeans holding a shovel, looking confused. The text read, "Landscapers equals people. WH failed at everything else, but can still hold tools barely." Below it, Susan had written, "LOL, so true, though. Why do people act like yard work is a real career?" My stomach dropped. I sat in my driveway, watching the messages roll in. My cousin David, harsh LOL. Aunt Sarah, Susan, that's not very nice. Uncle James, hey now, landscapers work hard. Then Susan doubled down. Oh, come on. I'm just saying what everyone thinks. It's not exactly brain surgery. Anyone can dig holes and plant flowers. It's just manual labor for people who couldn't hack it in the real world. My mom Diane jumped in. Susan. Olivia owns a landscaping business. This is hurtful. Susan's response made my blood boil. Oh, please, Diane. Olivia knows I'm not talking about her specifically. I'm talking about real landscapers. She'll probably move on to something more professional eventually anyway. She's smart enough when she applies herself. More family members chimed in, some defending me, some trying to change the subject, others sending random gifts because they clearly had no idea what to say. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. I watched my Uncle Mark send a thumbs up to Susan's message, which honestly stung more than Susan's original post. My younger brother Sam sent me a private message, "Dude, are you seeing this? What a jerk. I didn't respond to anyone. I just sat there, reading, feeling that familiar childhood sensation of being small and worthless that Susan was so good at provoking. Here I was, running a successful business, employing people, paying taxes, contributing to my community, and she reduced it all to digging holes. The thing is, landscaping isn't just about making things look pretty, although that's part of it. It's about understanding drainage, soil composition, plant biology, climate zones, irrigation systems, hardscaping, environmental impact, and so much more. I have certifications in landscape design, horticulture, erosion control, and environmental management. I've studied water management, soil conservation, and sustainable land practices. But to Susan, I just dug holes. I made a decision. I scrolled up, found Susan's meme, and took a screenshot. Then I quietly left the family group chat. No dramatic exit message, no final statement, nothing. I just left. Diane called within 5 minutes. Honey, don't let her get to you. You know how Susan is. I'm fine, Mom. I just don't need that negativity. She didn't mean it personally. She absolutely meant it personally. And you know what? I'm done making excuses for her. I'm an adult with a business to run. I don't have time for this. Diane sighed. Just don't do anything rash, okay? I promised I wouldn't. I meant it. I wasn't plotting revenge, I just wanted Susan out of my notifications and out of my head. Over the next few weeks, family members messaged me, asking me to rejoin. I politely declined. Michael called, telling me he was proud I was setting boundaries, which honestly made me tear up a little. Sam kept sending me screenshots of Susan saying ridiculous things, which I asked him to stop. I really was trying to move on. Then March arrived, bringing the spring rains. We'd had a dry winter, but March made up for it. It rained for 18 days straight, with only brief breaks. These weren't gentle spring showers, they were heavy, punishing downpours that overwhelmed storm drains and turned streets into rivers. The local news showed footage of flooding, and several neighborhoods were evacuated. I was busier than ever. Clients called about drainage issues, water pooling in yards, erosion problems. This is the part of my job people like Susan don't understand. When it rains like this, you find out real quick who actually knows what they're doing, and who's just digging holes. Mrs. Miller, a client who had installed a French drain system with us 2 years ago, sent me a thank you basket with fancy cheeses and crackers. Her neighbor, who had skimped on just landscaping work, was now dealing with a flooded basement. I was inspecting retaining wall work at another client's house when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Olivia? The voice was shaky, almost unrecognizable. This is she. It's Susan. Aunt Susan. I need your help. I stood there in the rain, water dripping from my hood, and waited. My house is flooding. Well, not inside yet, but the yard. There's so much water, and it's all flowing toward the foundation. And I called the landscaping company, but they can't come for 3 weeks. Another one wanted $12,000 just to look at it. And I heard you do this kind of work, and I know we haven't talked, but this is an emergency, and your family. So, the desperation in her voice was palpable. Any satisfaction I might have felt was completely overwhelmed by genuine concern. Water against a foundation is no joke. It can cause structural damage costing tens of thousands. Susan, have you called a foundation specialist? Yes. They came out this morning. They said if I don't redirect the water away from the house immediately, I'm looking at major foundation damage. They estimated anywhere from $12,000 to $18,000 in repairs if the water keeps saturating the soil. The soil's already soaked through, and water's pooling everywhere, and it keeps raining, and I don't know what to do. Professional instinct kicked in before personal feelings could stop me. Okay, what's the situation? Where's the water coming from? I don't know. Everywhere. The yard's a swamp, and it's all running downhill toward the house. The foundation guy said something about needing drainage and grading, and Olivia, I'm scared. This house is everything I have. I closed my eyes. 6 years in business had taught me that water doesn't care about your feelings or your grudges. Water finds the path of least resistance and causes damage. That's physics, not personal. I can come look at it, I heard myself say. Really? Oh, thank God. When can you come? Now? I'm with a client. Give me an hour. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry about everything. I was wrong, and I know that now, and I'm just so grateful you're willing to help. I hung up and stared at my phone. My client, Mr. Thompson, had been standing nearby and clearly overheard my end of the conversation. Family? He asked. Yeah, my aunt. She's got a drainage emergency. The aunt you don't talk to anymore? I'd mentioned the family chat incident to him weeks ago. He'd been appropriately outraged on my behalf. That's the one. He shook his head. You're a better person than me. I'd let her drown. I laughed despite myself. It's not about her. It's about doing the right thing. Besides, it's what I'm good at, right? Digging holes. Mr. Thompson squeezed my shoulder. You're a professional. Go show her what that means. I finished up and headed to Willow Creek Heights. The neighborhood looked worse than I'd expected. Water ran down every street, and many yards had visible standing water. The storm drains clearly weren't designed for this volume. Poor municipal planning, I noted mentally. Susan's house was impressive, I had to admit. Graystone facade, perfectly manicured lawn, usually ornamental trees, a circular driveway with stamped concrete, and water. So much water. The yard sloped toward the house, a massive design flaw. Whoever graded this property originally did it backward. Water should always flow away from structures. The landscaping was purely aesthetic, all ornamental plants and decorative rocks, with no functional drainage whatsoever. Susan came running out before I'd even parked. She looked terrible. Her usually perfectly styled hair was in a messy ponytail, she wore sweatpants and a ratty college hoodie, and her eyes were red from crying. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. I grabbed my boots and walked the property with her. The situation was bad. Really bad. The gutters overflowed because downspouts dumped directly onto the ground next to the foundation. The yard had no proper grading, no drainage system, no swales, nothing. It was a beautiful disaster waiting to happen. And now it was happening. How long have you lived here? I asked, taking notes on my tablet. 12 years. I bought it right after the divorce. And you've never had flooding issues before? No, never. I mean, some water in the yard after heavy rain, but nothing like this. I knelt near the foundation and dug a small hole with my soil probe. The ground was completely saturated, and I could see water actively seeping toward the basement wall. Susan, I'm going to be straight with you. This is a serious problem. The water table is high from all the rain. Your yard has negative grading toward the house. You have no drainage system, and your downspouts are making everything worse. If this continues, you're going to have foundation failure, basement flooding, or both. That foundation specialist wasn't exaggerating about the 12 to 18,000 in potential damage. She put her hand over her mouth. How much will it cost to fix? I need to do a full assessment and design a proper solution, but you're probably looking at somewhere between 8 and 15,000 for a comprehensive drainage system that includes regrading, French drains, catch basins, redirecting downspouts, and potentially a dry well or two. 15,000? That's the high end. But yes, water management is complex. It's not just digging holes, Susan. It's understanding hydrology, soil percolation rates, slope calculations, and drainage engineering. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. She started crying again. I don't have that kind of money just lying around. The divorce settlement is mostly tied up in the house and my retirement accounts. I stood up and wiped mud off my hands. This was the moment. This was where I could walk away, tell her to call one of those companies that quoted her $12,000 just to show up. Remind her that this was a job for professionals, not failures with tools. The old Olivia, the 13-year-old who'd heard she'd never amount to much, wanted revenge. Wanted to watch Susan squirm. Wanted to send her that screenshot of the meme and say, "Good luck finding someone who barely knows how to hold tools." But I'd spent 6 years building a reputation on being reliable, professional, and good at what I did. My business wasn't built on being petty. It was built on solving problems. "I can help you," I said slowly. "But I need some things from you first." "Anything." "An apology. A real one. Not because your house is flooding, but because what you said was hurtful and wrong." Susan nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, Olivia. I was awful. I was jealous. Honestly, you took a risk and built something. And I've spent years being miserable in a job I hate. And instead of being proud of you, I tore you down. That meme was cruel, and the things I said were worse. I'm ashamed of myself. It wasn't the apology I'd imagined, but it felt genuine." "Okay. Second thing, I need you to post in the family chat. Tell them you were wrong about landscaping being for failures and recommend my business." "Done." "Absolutely." Third, my standard rates, no family discount. This is my business, and I don't work for free. "Of course." "Yes." I pulled up my phone and opened my notes app where I'd already screenshotted her meme weeks ago. I showed it to her. "I saved this. I was going to send it to you today and tell you to figure it out yourself. But that's not who I am. I'm a professional who solves drainage problems, even for people who think what I do is just digging holes." Susan looked at the screenshot and then at me. Fresh tears welled up. "I'm the worst person in the world." "You're not. But you were really mean, and it hurt." I put my phone away. "Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to come back tomorrow with my crew and some equipment. We're going to do emergency grading to redirect water away from your foundation. That'll buy us time. Then I'm going to design a proper drainage system for this property, and we're going to install it, right? You're going to pay my invoice within 30 days, and you're going to stop telling people that manual labor isn't a real career. Deal?" "Deal." "Yes." "Thank you." Over the next week, my crew and I basically rebuilt Susan's yard from the ground up. We brought in a mini excavator and regraded the entire property so water flowed away from the house toward the street. We installed 3 French drain systems with proper filter fabric and gravel. We added 4 catch basins in strategic locations. We redirected all her downspouts into underground drainage pipes that carried water to the street. We even built a small berm on the side where water was entering from the neighbor's yard. It was a massive job. My guys worked 12-hour days in the rain, and I was out there with them, muddy and exhausted, making sure everything was done right. Mrs. Henderson from across the street brought us coffee one morning and mentioned she was having similar issues and would like a quote. Mr. Davies, 2 doors down, asked for my card. On the second day of work, something interesting happened. Susan's friend Sharon stopped by, the kind of woman who wore designer athleisure to walk her miniature poodle and had opinions about everyone's landscaping choices. I'd seen her at family gatherings, always attached to Susan's hip, laughing at her mean jokes. "Susan, what's all this construction noise?" Sharon called out from the sidewalk, wrinkling her nose at our muddy worksite. "Are you finally redoing this yard?" I told you years ago you needed better landscaping. Susan glanced at me nervously before answering. The house was flooding. Olivia's fixing the drainage. Olivia? Your niece Olivia? Sharon's perfectly microbladed eyebrows shot up. The one who does lawn mowing? I felt my jaw tighten, but before I could say anything, Susan spoke up. She owns a professional landscaping and drainage company. She's saving my foundation from collapsing. Actually, the other companies I called either couldn't help for weeks or wanted ridiculous money just to assess the damage. Sharon looked skeptical. Well, I hope she knows what she's doing. Water damage is no joke, and you don't want some amateur making it worse. That was my breaking point. I stood up from where I'd been checking the slope gradient, covered in mud from head to toe, and walked over. Ma'am, I have certifications in landscape design, horticulture, erosion control, and environmental management. I've been doing this professionally for 6 years, and my company has handled drainage projects for residential properties, commercial complexes, and municipal parks. I assure you, I know exactly what I'm doing. The look on Sharon's face was priceless. She stammered something about not meaning to offend anyone and practically scurried back to her house with her poodle. Susan came over after Sharon left. I'm sorry about her. She's always been like that. Like you were. The words came out before I could stop them. Susan flinched but nodded. Yeah, exactly like I was. It's embarrassing to see it from the outside now. Is that how I sounded to everyone? Pretty much. She was quiet for a long moment, watching my crew position the excavator. How do you deal with people like that? People who assume you don't know what you're doing because of what you do for a living? I wiped sweat from my forehead, probably just smearing more mud around. I let my work speak for itself. In a week, your yard will have a functioning drainage system that'll protect your house for decades. Sharon can think whatever she wants. But your foundation won't crack, your basement won't flood, and you'll sleep better during rainstorms. That's what matters. You're really good at this, aren't you? I'd better be. I've got 8 employees counting on me to know my stuff. Susan watched us work every day, insisting on bringing out garbage bags for debris and offering to hose down tools. On day 3, she asked Daniel, one of my best workers, about the perforated pipe system. So, the holes let water in, but how does it not just fill up with dirt? She asked, genuinely curious. Daniel, usually quiet, lit up, explaining the filter fabric and the gravel base. I watched Susan listen intently, asking follow-up questions. She was actually trying to understand. That evening, after the crew left, Susan asked if I had a few minutes. I need to tell you something, she said, sitting on her front steps despite the dampness. When Chloe got into law school, everyone celebrated. When Ethan decided to find himself, I made excuses for him because at least he tried college first. But when you started your landscaping business, I told people you were just doing it temporarily until you found a real job. The honesty stung, but I appreciated it. I told my book club you were basically a glorified gardener. I told my coworkers it was sweet how you were trying to make something of yourself. I diminished everything you built because it didn't fit into my narrow definition of success. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. I'm not asking you to forgive me right now. I just need you to know that I see how wrong I was. And I'm genuinely sorry. I sat down next to her, both of us exhausted and dirty. Do you know why I love what I do, Susan? Tell me. Because I get to solve puzzles. Every property is different soil types, elevations, water flow patterns. I have to figure out how to work with nature instead of against it. And when I get it right, when I design a system that prevents flooding or erosion or water waste, I know I've done something that matters. I've protected someone's home, their investment, their peace of mind. That's beautiful, actually. It is. And it took me a long time to stop caring what people like you thought about it. I bumped her shoulder gently. But it hurt when it was family saying those things. I know. I'm sorry. We sat in silence for a while, watching the sunset over her newly graded yard. Tomorrow, we'd finish the French drains and start on the catch basin installations. The day after that, we'd connect everything to the street drainage system. By the end of the week, her property would be transformed. Susan watched us work every day. She brought us lunch. She asked questions about what we were doing and why. She actually seemed interested. On the third day, she asked if I'd be willing to teach her about basic drainage principles so she could maintain the system. See those catch basins? I explained, pointing to the metal grates we'd installed. You need to clean the debris out of those every few months, leaves, sticks, anything that might clog them. And in the fall, make sure your gutters are clean so your downspouts can flow properly. I had no idea any of this existed, she admitted. I just thought. Yards were yards. You plant grass and flowers and that's it. Most people think that, until they have a problem. That's why we're here. The final bill came to $14,800. Susan paid it the day I sent the invoice and left a 5-star review on our website, praising how professional, knowledgeable, and hardworking we were. She also, as promised, posted in the family chat. I wasn't in the group anymore, but Sam sent me a screenshot. Susan had written a long message explaining that she'd been completely wrong about landscaping, that it was a highly skilled profession requiring extensive knowledge, and that anyone dealing with property issues should contact Green Horizon Designs because we were the best in the business. She included our website and phone number. Diane called me that evening. Susan posted about your company, I heard. Did you two work things out? We're working on it. She apologized. A real apology, not a non-apology. I'm glad. And honey, your dad Michael and I are really proud of you. The way you handled this, staying professional even when she'd hurt you. That takes character. Thanks, Mom. Can I tell you something, though? Of course. I almost sent her just the screenshot and told her to deal with it herself. I wanted to. The only thing that stopped me was knowing it would feel good for about 5 minutes, and then I'd regret it. But you didn't. That's what matters. After we hung up, I looked at that screenshot one more time. Landscapers equals people. WH failed at everything else, but can still hold tools barely. I thought about my 8 employees who depended on me for their livelihoods. About the dozens of clients whose properties we'd improved and whose problems we'd solved. About the certifications on my office wall and the skills I'd worked so hard to develop. About the fact that I just prevented $15,000 in foundation damage through knowledge and expertise that took years to acquire. Then I deleted the screenshot. I didn't need it anymore. 3 months later, Susan invited me to lunch. Just the two of us, at a nice restaurant. It was awkward at first, but we talked. Really talked. Maybe for the first time ever. She admitted she'd always felt threatened by me, that watching me succeed in something unconventional made her question her own conventional choices. She told me about her unhappy marriage, her strained relationship with Chloe, her worry about Ethan. She was human in a way I'd never seen before. I spent so much time judging everyone else to avoid looking at my own life, she said. I'm trying to do better. We all mess up. The important thing is learning from it. She smiled. When did you get so wise? Probably around the same time I learned about soil percolation rates and grading calculations. We both laughed. Susan and I will never be best friends, but we're family, and we're trying. She refers clients to me regularly now, and I've actually helped her understand more about her property and how to maintain it. She's taken a genuine interest in sustainable landscaping, and we've had some interesting conversations about native plants and water conservation. Last month, she asked if she could rejoin the family chat. I'd rejoined a few weeks after the drainage project, mostly because Diane kept complaining she had to tell me everything twice. When Susan came back, her first message was simple: "Hi everyone, I've missed you. I'm going to try to be better about thinking before I post." Uncle Mark, who'd given her meme a thumbs up, replied, "We all should. Running a business has taught me a lot about people. Everyone has problems they need help with, and everyone has their own struggles. Being good at what you do isn't about proving people wrong or getting revenge. It's about showing up, doing excellent work, and treating people with respect, even when they don't deserve it." Would it have felt good to send that screenshot and watch Susan panic? Absolutely. For about 5 minutes. But I wouldn't have felt good about myself, and I definitely wouldn't have $14,800 and 3 new clients from her neighborhood. More importantly, I wouldn't have learned that Susan was a whole person beyond the mean comments, and she wouldn't have learned that landscaping is about a hell of a lot more than digging holes. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just being so good at what you do that people can't help but notice. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, the people who doubted you become your biggest advocates. My business is doing great. We just hired 2 more people and bought another truck. I'm working on getting certified in ecological restoration, and we're starting to do more commercial projects. Every day I get to work outside, solve problems, create beautiful functional spaces, and employ good people. I don't think about that meme anymore. But sometimes, when I'm designing a complex drainage system or explaining water flow dynamics to a client, I remember being 13 and hearing that I'd never amount to much. And then I smile because I'm doing exactly what I was meant to do. And I'm damn good at it. Anyone can dig holes, but it takes real knowledge, skill, and professionalism to dig the right holes in the right places for the right reasons. That's the difference between manual labor and a career. That's the difference between failure and success. And that's something Susan understands now. Have you ever had to choose between being right and doing what was right?